Hello, welcome YouTubers. This is going to be a video that I put up on my Udemy course. It's going to be a free Udemy course, so go ahead and sign up for it, no charge. But with the Udemy course, you also get some resources. I'm going to have some papers, PDF files that you can download and print off if you want. We're going to talk about water and water storage and water needs. Preppers seem to have water high in their mind. It's a priority, isn't it? And yet, just being a priority doesn't mean that we really understand what's going on with water. I think that we pretty much figure that we're finished when we have three things. When we have some water storage at our house. Number two, when we have some sort of a water filter at our place. And number three, when we have something like Clorox at our place, right? So if we have those three things, we feel like we're in pretty good shape. But there's a concern with that. And that concern is that we don't understand the big picture if that's all we have. Human beings have huge water needs. Infants, they're about 70% water. As they get older, as human beings get older and children grow up, then about 10 or 11 years old, then they're about 65%. Young adults are somewhere around 63%, from what I understand. And then the adults and the elderly, it gets up to about half and half sometimes for someone who's in their 70s or 80s. So we lose water over time, but nevertheless, water remains probably the most crucial component, except for air, that we have. And we have more control over our water than we do our air. You've heard that individuals can survive for weeks without food, but we can't survive very many days without water, and that's accurate. One of the questions I asked at the beginning of the course, and I want to go over the answer to that right now, is during a dark age situation, where would you find water in your home? Hopefully, number one, you'd have some water storage. So you would be able to go to either some barrels or some containers that you have with water in it. Number two is you'd be able to find water in your pipes. You wouldn't think of that, right? But you have water in your pipes that if you can find a way to drain that, and that's usually in your utility room, then you can get some water out. Now, there's not going to be a whole lot of water there, but it's going to be some. Number three is in the toilet tank. Now, some folks put some kind of disinfectant in the toilet tank, and that makes that water not good to drink. It contaminates that. So you wouldn't be able to use that water for drinking purposes. But you could go into your tank, toilet tank, and get water. Number four is in your water tank. There are some people who have a hot water tank, or they might even have a tank, pressure tank in their home, but that would provide a place of storage where they could go find some water as well. And if you know ahead of time that there's going to be no electricity or your water's going to be shut off, we've all heard this, right? Fill up your tubs, fill up your sinks with water, and then you'll be able to access that water as well. So really there's 5 different places that you could access water in your home if you can't just go to the tap and turn it on and get it out. Let's talk about purifying water versus filtering water. What's the difference? A lot of people really don't understand what this is all about. And so let's talk about it. Filtering water means to take out some physical properties. If there's sand or grit or even some bugs, filtering, it goes through a filter in the water. The water goes through the filter and it takes out the contaminants. This does not work for things that have dissolved in the water. It doesn't work for chemicals that are in the water because those can't generally be filtered unless they're a specialized filter. So in order to clean the water and make it purified, then you need to do a couple of different things to purify. There's a couple of ways to purify the water. One of those ways is through using the sun. You can take a clear container and fill it with water and take it out in the sun and warm it up. If you watch some of the survival shows on TV, and especially Cody Lundin, he talks about that. You can just use the sun, power of the sun, to purify the water. You can also boil the water. That will purify it. It won't take out any chemicals, but it will purify the water as well. You can use tablets. There's chlorine tablets and iodine tablets. Again, I was at Rabbit Stick, a primitive skills gathering, and was listening to Cody, and the iodine is, or has been, his preferred method for purifying water. It kills the little protozoas and little icky bugs in there, and you need to let the iodine set just like you do the chlorine or Clorox. You don't want the unscented stuff in your home. You need to let it set for a while, but that is going to help purify the water. The ideal thing to do is to filter the water and to purify it as well. Then you're sure to get some safe water to drink and to bathe with and things like that. Filtering. You can use a filter that is a commercial filter. You can use activated charcoal. I know that I was told that in the mountains, when I grew up in Montana and we would hike in the streams, if we saw some dead animal, we'd have to go a couple hundred yards downstream at least to drink that water. But they said that water, after going over and through all the rocks and the sand and the gravel, was generally filtered that way. And I might want to just mention here that you do not want to get Giardia. I had Giardia as a teenager, and it is no fun. You just have the runs, and it just is a continual reminder of your trip in the mountains. Distilling water is another way to get water. I know that I have built a solar still before, and those are a lot of work for very little water. Even when I put a plant shelf in the still, you dig a hole about 3 feet deep and about 3 feet or 4 feet across. You take some white plastic, clear plastic, and you put it across you put at the bottom of the hole that looks like an inverted triangle. You put a can down below, and then you put some plants, green plants, watery plants in there. And when you do that, theoretically and in practice, the sun will heat those plants up. It will take the water out of the green plants. The water will evaporate, hit the clear plastic. Then it will, in the plastic, you put a rock to weight down the middle of the plastic so that the water will drip down to the very bottom point of that plastic and then drip into that can. That's a lot of work to do. Another way that's a little bit easier and better is to take a plastic bag and wrap it around a tree limb with either needles or leaves and capture the moisture from that. Again, you're not going to get a whole lot, but if that's all you've got, then that's better than nothing. So there you go. That's where preppers, we don't know a lot of this stuff. We know that we need to have water, and so we store water in our home. But we only store it for a few days or a week or 2 weeks, maybe at the most. That's why on my homestead, I also have a well that thankfully the water level is only 7 feet below the ground level. That's where the water starts. And so I'm able to pump that out by hand, and I've got 3 different ways, non-electric ways, to bring the water up to the surface. That's going to be important, I think, stuff like that. But realize that all it takes is one earthquake to shut that off, and change the whole course of the water underneath. So really, there's no surefire, foolproof way to make sure that you've got water. What it requires is a dependence on a higher being, doesn't it? And it requires us doing the best we can, adapting, improvising, and overcoming. So I would encourage you, here's the challenge for this video, is take stock of your water inventory, take stock of your water purifying and your water filtering capacity at your house. Get some Clorox if you don't have any. Look up about how to use Clorox to purify water. I would really strongly recommend that you get a water filter as well. I don't know that I recommend Berkey. There's been some concern about that lately, but I would say get some camping filters, something that you can take backpacking in case you have to get up and go. Then you can take the filter with you. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, and go to the Udemy channel and watch that there.